Welcome back, everyone. This is a new episode of the Performance Mentality podcast. And today's topic, we're going to talk about debunking some myths and misconceptions around the world of sports psychology. So this can include about who it's for, how it's used, and so forth.
Yeah, so in today's episode, we're going to cover 10 most common myths. And the first one is sports psychology session just talking? So do you want to start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people just assume when you see a sports psychologist, it'll be like the common like counseling psychology or other types of psychology where you can sit on the couch and you'll sit in front of the therapist and you'll talk for an hour session and that's all it is. Well, actually, I would say for my practice, I've been more on the pitch side than I have sat down with an athlete. What about you?
100% agree with what you said. A lot of people talk about psychology, sports psychology is just talking basically, but it's more than that. We have to go to the stadium, to the pitch to observe the athlete's response to, for example, making a mistake or celebrating a goal. And we have a lot to work around that. It's more than just talking. So there are mental technique we can use, such as imagery, self-talk, attentional control, etc. So these are the things we can work with athletes. Of course, the typical talking is 100% involved. Can maybe 50%, I would say in my practice, 50% is talking. But apart from the talking, there are a lot we can build up on it.
Yeah, and can I just add that there's other types of, so rather you can do the talking, you do the practical, but often sports psychologists will also hand out worksheets
Mhm.
and they'll do presentations. So the worksheets sort of help gain more of a like physical evidence of the ratings.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of other aspects involved other than just talking with the athletes.
Yeah, and not all athletes likes to talk. So we also have to work around sometimes, like you said, using worksheets. You can get information out of athlete without them disclosing too much just by talking. So talking is one of the major way, but it's definitely more than just talking. And what we do as well, we have assessment, we have worksheet, workshop, intervention. So do you think we have debunked this myth?
Yeah, what we're trying to say is that there's a lot more involved.
Yeah,
Should we
right.
move on to number two?
Yep. Number two, isn't
So there's
sports
a
psychology only for, sorry, for elite athlete? Is it only for elite athlete? Well,
Yes, well, that
yes.
is no, definitely not.
Yeah.
So people only think that only the elite of the elite athletes need a sports psychologist, but we have to say that, I mean, for me, I've not worked with the elite yet. It's available and should be accessible for every level, I believe.
Yeah, and based on our title, sports and exercise psychologists, we also need to focus on the exercise part. Exercise including people who just want to work out, just want to lose weight, just want to be healthier. Those are the people we can also work with. So, such as motivation, adherence in exercise, those are the things we can also work with. And we can also work with amateur athletes, academy athletes. So basically all the people who wants to work out, I would say who wants to exercise.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it helps with just you can use sports psychology to help with the participation
Mm,
and enjoyment level. So not always the performance element, but that is the key thing. And then I also want to mention that it's not just for athletes either. You can do it for different ages, different levels, coaches. You can get a sports psychologist for the referees now.
yeah, that is an
Um,
interesting one.
yeah, that's got big recently, especially the PGMO. I can't remember. It's like for the referees, for the Premier referees, because they get a lot of abuse. So they need
Yeah,
some support
100%.
as well.
Yeah, so it is a very inclusive or everyone within the sports or exercise open to work with.
Yeah, definitely, because elite athletes don't just
Mm.
experience, for example, confidence issues, or like you can get people at grassroots levels experience some anxiety. So they all should be supported.
Yeah, another point building up on that is the aging people when as they age, they need to transition into different stages of life, and that also requires support to adapt to a new phase of their life, new stage. So I would say it's for everyone to be fair. And of
Yeah,
course, we have to
definitely.
be mindful not to work on clinical issue, but basically everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it is more common in elite athletes because
Mm.
they have the funds essentially.
Yeah, and
So
they're the
hopefully
most
we've cleared that
common
up.
population we do research on. but they're not the only population we can work with.
Yeah. So moving on, shall we?
Another myth
With
debunked.
yeah, sport. So it kind of links to the one before, but another one common misconception:
Mm,
sports psychology is only for athletes with problems. So only if like people might assume an athlete comes up to you says, "Oh, I'm struggling with high anxiety before the game," so that could be considered a problem. But actually, you could go there saying, I've got confidence, but it's not high enough. So they've got
mhm.
elements of confidence, but they can come with and say, "Oh, I just still want to work on that." What do you
Yeah,
think?
I don't like when athlete or when coaches describe it as a problem or as an issue, because all the athlete, if they want to work on something, which means that they're passionate about the sport, they are eager to improve. So working with a sports psychologist is just a sign of eagerness and want to improve and become a better athlete rather than having a problem. Because all athlete is still developing, no matter what level you are on. You still want to become a better version, and working with a sports psychologist is just another way to improve. So yeah, I think using the word problem from coaches, from parents, from teammates is a little bit injustice.
Yeah, I mean, you can go there performing really well, but
Yeah,
athlete may say, "Oh, I'm scoring 10 goals, for example," but that's more performance based. And they say, "I want to score more, but I want to work on the mental side." So it gives you that
yeah,
competitive edge. It's like, I'm doing well, but I want to do better. So it's always about
yeah,
performing better mentally and physically. So for example, go back to my last example. I've got confidence, but I want to maintain this. So just because you
yeah.
have something or you don't have doesn't mean it's going to stay with
Yeah, or you lose something as well. You can score 10 goals, as you said, but athlete can say, I don't feel the enjoyment in it anymore. It doesn't excite me
you.
anymore. So it is also another thing, not only focus on performance, but also all the elements behind the performance, even if the performance is really good.
Yeah, it's a big stigma because say if you go to a sports psychologist, some of your teammates may say, "So what's wrong with you?" But
Yeah,
it's not necessarily about that. It's like you don't have to go to therapy if you're quote unquote broken, for example. You don't have
yeah.
to have anything particularly wrong.
So I would not consider our industry as a person to fix something, but we can be there to maintain something, improve something, rather than fixing something.
Yeah, 100%. And hopefully when we go through these, we're not going to go into too much detail because we'll be here all day,
Mm,
but just covering the main points and hopefully getting people to realize what sports psychology actually is and not believe in these
yeah.
myths. You wanna do the next?
Yep. The next one is mental toughness something we are born with? 100% not. It is something we can train and we can develop. As we face different struggle, different challenges, we overcome them, then sort of improve. And improving it, I would say. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the components in sports psychology that isn't fixed. So it's more malleable. You can, for example, I do agree with you. If you come across a situation of adversity, then that may break down a bit of your mental toughness, but then you
Hmm.
build it back up afterwards.
Yeah.
If you view it as a trait, it might limit your growth as well. So
Mm.
actually, if you think of it something that's more you can develop over time and you have to keep developing as well, you'll be able to see it as like something you can train.
I would say we are born with zero mental toughness. If we have to correct this myth, we're born with none of it, and we will develop it as we grow and as we deal with all the struggle in life.
Yeah, I don't think there's
Mhm.
much more to say about that. Something you can work on and something that is developed after, well, one example is that after exposure to adversity, you definitely develop mental toughness from it.
But also depends on the reflection of this adversity, and it is something we can do with it. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's a key thing that sports psychologists probably deal with as well. Right, next one. Can't remember what number we're up to now.
yeah. The
But
next one, you want me?
sports
Yeah.
psychology, yeah, sports psychology is only useful during competitions. So to start off with, sports psychology, we can very surely say that it's not only used during competitions, we can use it during training, you can use it at home, you can do it post competition. And do you want to go into why that is?
If it is only useful during competition, then we should all be unemployed, only be employed for a whole year. Definitely not. Because what we can do is to help athlete prepare. Maybe before a new season, we can do a lot of work to prepare for a new season. Post season, we can try to help athlete reflect on what happened in the whole season, what they want to improve in the next one. And definitely during competition is the most commonly used, but definitely not just during competition. There's a lot we can work on during training as well. I feel it's like all the time we can work with, and
Yeah, I
depends on
mean,
also what happened to athletes, because we cannot prevent things happen to them, and when that happen, they also need support.
yeah, the skills and tools that you use,
Mhm.
they're practiced well before the competition. If you
Yeah,
practice it right before, you'll be unprepared. So
yeah,
you've got to build this up in beforehand, and then you use them effectively in the competition. It's like if you don't practice it, you won't be able to utilize it effectively. You can integrate it during training sessions. And then once this is reinforced over time, then it will be like, it's like, I don't know, learning to do kick ups. You have to develop
hmm
it over time. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about injured athletes as well, they can't use it during competition because they're not allowed to
yeah.
perform then. So you're doing a lot of the stuff off the pitch. It is definitely used during competition, but it's not just for that use.
Move on to the next one.
Yeah,
All right. The next one is sports psychologists can read your mind.
I
I
love this
wish I
one.
wish I can read people's mind. Definitely not. In my experience, it's mainly what athlete wants to disclose to me. Whatever they can disclose to me, those are the things that I can build upon rather than I can just they just sit in front of me and I automatically can read everything.
Yeah, I mean, if we had that would be easy for us. But no, it takes time to actually build that relationship with the
Mm.
athlete. Of course, we get trained to sort of read body language, for example, pick up on cues, but a lot of it, an athlete can hide a hell of a lot. Like they don't have to, it takes time for them to actually open up.
Yeah, what you said,
Um,
athlete can hide it. I want to build up on this. Sorry, it's just athlete, they are kind of accustomed to hide their feeling as well, especially in front of coach. They want to show that they are tough, they are strong, so they will be selected to play. And when it comes to us, they also feels like we're one of them. So they also sometimes try to hide their thoughts. So it can make us more difficult to read their mind, as they said. So it is just depends on the relationship we built, as you said earlier.
Yeah, we're definitely not
Mm.
psychics. So some of the stuff we'll use instead, we'll definitely use more structured conversations. We use a different assessment. Some people don't want to open up and talk straight away. So we'll get them to rate things. Even then, they might not be telling the truth. And then observations, if you're observing them in a natural training facility, if you just watch on the side from afar, you might actually gain a lot more information out of that because if they feel like they're getting watched and analysed, they're going to change their behaviour.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things that we can do instead. But yeah, we have to use a combination of lots of tools and lots of types of assessments.
Assessment and reading body language, picking up on cues. These are the things that we can tap into athlete's mind. But at the end of the day, it just depends on how open up the athlete is and how eager the athlete wants to use our services. I would say, yeah, that is what we can do.
Exactly. So it won't be able to read your mind. So it does help if a athlete
Mm.
opens up, but it's not the end of the world. We can use other things as well.
Yeah.
All right. So we've only got four more left.
Yep.
The next one, there's a common misconception that sports psychology is just common sense. That one's a little bit, I don't know how I feel about this one because we've trained for how many years? If it was just common sense and everyone could.
I don't even know how many years at this point. 6 years, at least 6 years. So it's definitely not common sense. And as I learn more in sports psychology, as I study more, I feels like there are a lot I don't know about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of it can be translated and like sort of spoken about in very
Mm.
simple terms, but that actual concept, they go far deeper than people expect. So
Y-
when I was younger, like my coach used to say head up, which is great, but that's not going to change how I feel straight away or change my mindset. If the coach has said just focus or like keep your head in the game or I don't know, keep trying hard, they're very short phrases. And of course, that's what we should be doing. But as an athlete, when I was younger, I didn't know how to do it exactly.
Yeah, need someone to support you, to think in or understand better what the coaches want, or a person to be there to help athletes to cope with the pressure they put up to. So I would say it's definitely a common sense at the same time, but even though they're common sense, athletes may not be able to apprehend it at that moment, or there's so many things that just blur up in the mind, I would say. It also need a person to help them to understand everything.
Yeah, they might understand the
Mm.
concept of staying calm, but they're not sure how to actually apply it.
Yeah. When it comes to the outcome, it is quite common sense. Handle pressure, stay calm, clear up the mind. All sounds common sense, but it needs someone to actually help you when you're so under so much pressure.
Exactly. If an athlete tried to take it
Mm.
on themselves, say just stay calm, just focus, just try hard, then we wouldn't need a job because they could tell it, they could just teach it themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Or don't even need a coach. You just someone just tell them what to do. Dribble past 10 people and score, and then everyone can do it if it is just common sense.
Yeah, very true. So I think what we're saying is that yes, there are some concepts more simple than others, but the
Mm.
application goes far deeper.
So we move on to next one.
Yeah. Number nine.
Next, but mental training can enhance it, or you can also use it as a preparation for competition, for training as well. So I would say the combination of them is 100% needed, but it cannot replace any of the physical training.
Yeah, I don't think we really need to say much about this. I mean, physical training, mental training, they're both very important. You can't have one without the other. If you just work on the physical training, then you're going to neglect the mental side. So you're going to ignore all your feelings, or you're just going to build everything up. But soon enough, that catches up to you. If you do the mental training, then great, you've got a great mindset, but you're not going to build up your endurance,
Yeah.
physicality, or power, for example. So they do come hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I
Oh,
can just go
sorry.
back and say that there are arguments that the mental training has is a higher percentage than physical training, but that's very much in debate. Like, I think the 80-20 or 90-10 more mental importance than physical. But yeah, we won't go into that today.
Yeah.
But let's just
Episode
say that you need
six,
both.
7. Yeah, definitely we need both.
So I think this one is number nine then. Sports
Hmm.
psychology is a soft science. And what we mean by that is that some people think it's based on the vague ideas and then there's not much evidence. So hard science, more clinical and occupational and all of that. And because we don't deal with the clinical side of depression or like disorders, diagnosed disorders, people think, oh no, we're not dealing with like big things. What do you think about that?
It is quite harsh to call it soft science, I want to say. But obviously, there are a lot of things we can quantify if we need to make it sound more science. For example, performance, we can use a lot of statistic around it. So definitely not soft science. And in terms of number, we can put it on performance, put it on endurance, put it on, and a
Yeah,
lot
and
of
there's
research around it. Is that a little bit
yeah, that's
harsh?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's so much research on it. There's so many
Mm.
studies. People spend years developing new theories and testing them, applying them to real life examples. They measure them as well. Like you said, you got the scales, you got we had to download SPSS for our
Yeah.
degrees and look at all about statistics. So it can get very complicated even though not all the time we will use them, probably don't use a lot of them right now, but there might be times in the future where I will assess them. Yeah,
Maybe
so
there's not the physical product that we generate, but there is numbers and shows that there are improvement in athletes' performance and exercise adherence, motivation. So I can call it debunked.
yeah, there's definitely scales for most of the components.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is a bit harder to measure. For example, someone might rate their confidence a 9, where you might think it's not that high, but they're constantly changing as well. So it's not a
Mhm.
stable, they're not stable components either.
But that
So
is also something we can look at in terms of the statistic, because number that is varying is also something we can read. So it is also part of the science.
exactly. It's definitely a science. So we got move on to the last one.
Yep. Last one.
Uh,
Mentors work instantly for everyone.
yeah, and what we mean by that, it's very hard to say that one strategy will work for all. Of course, mental skills help, but at the end of the day, the techniques must be tailored and individualized. So we're not just going to say use self-talk. There's many different types of self-talk. And then, for example, that technique might not work for one athlete or one coach. The different personalities, the type of sport used, what environment they're in, and then with these approaches and tailoring them you're more likely to get a better outcome.
Yeah. And again, we call it skills, so which is something we need to train. So we help athlete and develop some tailored support. they also need to train it and use it in training. And the more they use, the more they train the mental skills, the easier for them to use it in real competition. So it won't work instantly, but you will see the improvement slowly.
Yeah, and we've got so many techniques. If one technique doesn't work, then we'll take a different approach.
Yeah.
So it's not just one size fits all. So it will work. We'll be able to tailor an approach, but it's also down to the clients and how they use it, because we can give them all the resources and all the tools, but if they're not going to practice it, then it's not going to work.
Yeah. So I would say
So
the outcome of sports psychology really down to the athlete, how well they want to use it and how often they practice it. We have so many support we can deliver. It's just down to the client sometimes. But we will try our best to give as much support as we can.
we can use the different types of tools that we can help implement.
Yeah. So another episode on psychological skills training. That would be cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we might have to do a few videos on that, but
Oh yeah.
there's lots to talk about. So, out of what myth would you say is?
Biggest one, I would say
I like the
sports
one that.
psychology session are just talking. Because a lot of people think it's just about talk. I don't have time for talking. Is it just like talking with my friend? I can do that with my friend, with my family, with the coach. But people don't understand that there are a lot we can build up on the talking part and a lot taken part in the observation, the assessment part, needs analysis. So it's way more than just talking. Yeah, can you go on? What do you think is the biggest part?
Yeah, I agree with your point. Just having a look. I think another one is that sports psychologist or sports psychology is only for athletes with problems. And then that also links with it's only for athletes as well, which is not. I know we've talked about athletes mainly, but I feel like the two of them sort of complement each other as well. And they link because you don't have to have a problem, don't have to fix it instantly. Working on it, and it can be used for a lot of other people within sport and exercise.
Yeah, so it's not just to fix something, prevent something, maintain something, or enhance something. It is also the work we can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, using the word problem is quite harsh, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we've explained most of these myths. Hopefully it's not something you will consider when you're thinking about sports psychology.
And feel free to comment if there are more myths that you want us to clarify.
Yeah, well, let us know what other myths that you've heard within the world of sports psychology and how you can debunk them and what the reality is. Because we've only covered 10, but I'm sure there's many more out there.
So see you all in the next episode. Thank you.